Hello and welcome back to Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness. Today we are properly starting our siege of Cypher's base on Citadark Isle, which is an incredible name, like the least subtle thing you could possibly do. Did they name it that is my question, because in that case, you guys really don't know how to hide any of the things you're doing here, right? Like, there's sometimes naming your location just something that evil. It's like calling the place Mount Doom or Death Pits of Wrath or Epstein Island. I don't know. Anyway, this dude gave us a battle CD. So that's great. That is something that will distract us later, but for now, we are going to try to plumb the depths of this base a little bit. And wait to leave until I decide that maybe we need levels or better moves or something. Because in that case, we can also visit Mount Battle and we can perform poorly, I guess. Or grind for EXP or something and maybe get enough Poke Coupons to buy another decent TM. Although also, goodness knows if there's any that are of really good value still for me to pick up. Or if anyone in my team can actually use most of them. Okay, pulling up my list for this locality. And this dude has a Dodrio and Eradicate for us to catch. Good to know. Good, in fact, to know. I want to check if Roselia has any move learns still to anything good to pick up yet in the future, or if there's good TMs that we can use for it. Let's take a look at our move tutor list as well. Yeah. A choice of character name here, all right. They just were like, yeah, as I've said before, I feel that most of the names in this game are borderline randomly generated, so yeah. Ouch. Yeah, Dodrio does hit pretty hard, and it moves with a speed that one could freely call reasonable. Yeah, it's definitely a choice. And I'm not going to call it a good choice because, to be perfectly honest with you, but what I will call it is an old choice, because that does in fact harken all the way back to ye olde Pokemon Stadium for the Nintendo 64. Which, to be fair, when this game came out, was all of like 6, 7 years old. I didn't do that on purpose, by the way. Oh god, I think Magneton is probably going to die in this fight because that Dodrio is semi-likely to target it with another Shadow attack. So it's going to take a crap load of damage, and Magneton is not really high level, as you've probably noticed. In fact, it is our lowest level party oh, and Whiscash as well. Oh, wow. Different targeting than I expected. Okay. Well, to that I say heartily, whatever. I'm going to switch Magneton out anyway. And bring in... Honestly, like, all of these are on a pretty similar par here. Would you believe it? 2 numbers! And they're right next to each other. That's the real strange part here. Unfortunately, the children are just very easily amused by numbers. I mean, I've read repeatedly that there's like, oh, well, it's this reference to something. I don't understand it personally. I don't even remember what the entire bit is off the top of my head, so I actually can't tell you anything real about that. Oh, yeah, he's giving me the Shadow Blitz. We're getting blitzed or something. I don't know. That doesn't sound like a completely appropriate phrase here. Let's just kind of hope that we don't kill this thing with Metal Claw. That'd be pretty good. Every time I get ready to judge Gen Alpha Brain Rot, I remember Fogle Gods. Yeah. You know what? That's a pretty good way to put it. The way that I always think about it is like, I am not going to turn into my dad. I am not going to turn into my dad. Which isn't even anything against my dad. But it's just the general concept of like, I refuse to become the sort of person who just openly dumps on young people for being young. And in fact, my dad doesn't even really do that. So, like I said, it's not about literally becoming my dad. It's more about the overarching concept of that. You know, as a millennial, and this is something that pretty much applies to my entire audience, like, we all got shit on by people who were older than us for saying things that were kind of goofy. Right? So, I'm not here to perpetuate that cycle. Even if I do joke about it sometimes. I'm not necessarily saying I'm good at this, but I digress. I'm not good at it. Okay. What else do I need to say? That the idea of me not being good at something, what else is new? Anywho, this Dodrio should be a reasonably easy capture. Yeah. And to be honest with you, if I didn't think we were this close to the end game, and I wanted to raise another Pokemon, I would probably give some very powerful consideration to Dodrio. Dodrio has historically been a very good Pokemon, as long as it doesn't die instantly to just getting looked at funny. This thing doesn't want to stay upright today. That's better. And I mean, listen, I have some things I could complain about young folks, but I'm not going to do it about their slang terminology, even if I don't always get it. Does this person have... Nope, nothing to try to capture here, so this is just go all in on the offense. In fact, it looks like it might be a minute before we have to even worry about that, so... You better believe I'm happy about that. Less having to plan around some of these battles, I will accept that. Ooh, I don't have a good counter to a grass type out right now. Because Magneton literally only has electric type damaging moves because Magneton's moveset is kind of butts. I mean, I think that's just kind of always been a little bit the gripe for Magneton is that unfortunately it just does not get moves. Good Pokemon, but it's like, you have electric and normal moves. The most dishwater-ass moveset that anybody's ever seen. When did it even get a... How long did it take to get a Steel-type move? Gen 4 it took to get a Steel-type move. When they finally introduced Mirror Shot and Flash Cannon. Which, to be fair, is one of those things, it's like, that's an extremely Gen 4 sort of move introduction. Is... We've got our types are now split by the move as opposed to the move type determines which attack stat you use. So they basically had to start introducing a bunch of stuff like Dark Pulse, Mirror Shot, Aqua Tail, things like that. Irene, stop thinking about that. Oh. Well, yeah, stop thinking about that. Anyway. Speaking of moves and their damage type, I believe I've pointed this out before. That when Gen 4 happened, all of the pre-existing Dark-type moves became physical. So... that was kind of unusual. Anyway, we got the enemy Parafused here, which is theoretically kind of great, but it's not going to matter. I absolutely would be the person who would be like, okay, I'm going to basically do Paraflinch bullshit. And everybody would groan very loudly when they get to that boss fight. And to be fair, I think everybody immediately becoming sick of my bullshit would be completely understandable in a case like that. Anyway, maybe one of these days I will actually properly work on any of the various ideas that I have kicking around for doing Pokemon game mods or anything like that. I've got a bunch of documentation just loaded up in tabs that I haven't closed in a while. But I haven't gotten around to starting any of them. Because I'm kind of bad at it. One in particular that I've been thinking about doing. Yes, for like ROM hacking stuff. Or, well, technically since it's all documentation for decomps that I have open right now. It is ROM hacking of a sort. It's just that I'm not doing it with like your traditional ROM hacking kind of tools. And again, a large part of that comes around to, I gotta get around to starting that up. Well, I'll see what I can do for you. I still kind of want to do the idea. Oh, by the way, this dude's name is Golos, which is extremely funny to me, and I certainly hope that Roundy would get a sensible chuckle out of it. This dude's banned in Commander. Although with his party, why would you bother? Anyway, holy heck, I forgot what it was. I forgot what all I was thinking other than, oh yes! So the reason why I forgot is actually perfectly fine because I hadn't gotten to it yet, but I was looking at doing like a Gen 2 mod also through the Pokemon Crystal decomp. But there is a thing that bothers me about it is that so the move pool in Gen 2 could definitely use a little bit of extra add-on here. And obviously there's a couple of Pokemon types that are missing or lacking in general in that era. So there would be some Pokemon who would get some types changed. But I wanted to add a couple more moves to it so that way there'd be stuff like, hey, here's, you can have an actually good bug type move or something. But there's space in the Crystal decomp, I think only for 2 new moves. And it's just like, that does put a bit of a damper on things. But I do have a bunch of other concepts for that written down, at least. So, bare minimum, if I actually get to it, then, you know, I've got the ideas put together of basically knowing what I want to do with it, and then I just have to put it in. And then I have to tweak where Pokemon show up on the world map and stuff, because a big part of it was going to be to make it so you could get a full Pokedex for it and just have better type representation, make the fights a little bit more, you know, not Gen 1 Bruno, kind of. If you understand what I'm saying, and I think you probably do. Anyway, Gen 3 hack based on Quest 64. I could probably hash out at least some ideas for you. Again, depending very heavily on what you need there for any of that stuff. I could probably figure some things out there. But the other idea that I was kicking around for a Gen 3 hack was going to be that other than some updates, it would basically be sort of like, here's a bunch of things from other Pokemon games, and it turns out that your character is basically just sort of an iteration of all the other Pokemon playable characters. So you start having like weird moments of deja vu about all of this stuff. Although it would be new gym leaders in the region, so that would be like the only other tell that wouldn't, or, you know, non-tell, I guess. Basically a little bit more story-ended, kind of goofy, I guess, because, like, who needs a reincarnation story in a Pokemon game, which is practically what it's tantamount to, isn't it? But also, just so that way I could play around with that idea a little bit as, like, the idea of one's expectations, and also sort of being at least tied into this idea of being like a series-wide tribute, because we are talking about the 30th anniversary of Pokemon, right? I mean, there's a good reason why there's going to be a lot of Pokemon games this year that I play on this channel, and this is just kind of the start, is me crossing one off the list. Because, as I've mentioned before, I've never played this, and even though I have some docs in front of me about how to get ahead, you know, how much is that truly going to do for us, right? Oh yeah, by the way, I do want to crack in here real quick and see and show, I suppose, that, yeah, we've used most of our good TMs now. I haven't used the Earthquake one because I'm not sure exactly what I want to do with it, and Earthquake is such a high-risk attack when you are playing exclusively doubles. In fact, I will say, by the way, that speaking of this game and playing exclusively doubles, and also Pokemon hacking on some level, that I was going to try and look into... This would be more of do a fan game through Pokemon Essentials, which of course is pretty much dead unless you go through some, well, more like back channels because of, well, reasons that are involved there. But it was going to be a game about capturing shadow Pokemon, sort of like this style of game. I mean, different story and everything. Probably different region, because just rebuilding this region's map would not necessarily be the most interesting. But I digress. You don't even have the Shadow Lugia, you goofball. Their decision was that, hey, the way that we make a girly character is we give her that Valley Girl accent, right? I assume that on some level the intention is probably to be a little bit more like Gyaru-ish, but at least for the Japanese end of things. But I digress. We're going to make things a little bit dangerous for us in theory by swift swimming. Or swift swimming, fuck. I'm jumping ahead a little bit. By using Rain Dance while she has a swift swimmer on the board. However, Gorbis is not a good Pokemon, so that thing drops like a stone at the slightest provocation. But actually, I just kind of want to set up the ability to just absolutely nuke these other Pokemon with Thunder where possible. Although we do have to remember to be careful here. She has 2 Shadow Pokemon for us to catch. And rather frustratingly, both of them are flying types, which is a problem for our primary means of offense here. That is still just wild amounts of damage to Magneton, who resists this. Although I guess Gardevoir is actually extremely powerful in terms of special damage, especially for this part of the series. But even so, that's way more than I would expect. And there's our Death Ray doing exactly what it should for us, as she throws in Farfetch'd. This is like the least on-theme Pokemon that she could possibly have, I think. A Pin Missile? Hey, why doesn't mine have that? Did I skip learning Pin Missile or something? Let's find out. Oh, it's only obtainable through breeding. That's why. shit. Wrong button. Wrong one. Wrong location. Well, whatever. We can probably tank this turn. I'm honestly not super concerned about Farfetch'd. I mean, it has area of effect confusion. That's slightly worrying, but otherwise, I'm pretty sure that Dodrio from earlier was more of a problem. Even, and perhaps especially, once you account for the level differential. Which is a hell of a thing to say when you consider that Farfetch'd has got to be a higher level. Yeah, alright. Hit Thunder Wave. Me? There we go. And Farfetch'd is T-Waved, so that's great. Wow, we actually got both attacks through confusion. That is a thing that, quite frankly, never happens. Ow. That is a lot of damage. That's... And Magneton is dead. That sucks. Well, cool. I guess that means that I'm going to get to try to deal with her other shadow Pokemon without paralysis, because burning a revive on that does seem like a bit of resource usage. However, Houndoom can absolutely just clear out this Roselia instantly, right? I'd be shocked if this wasn't a one-shot. Yeah. Yeah, it's Gen 3. Houndoom is a beast still. The game hasn't been power creeped all to shit yet. And the other Pokemon here is Altaria, which is completely fine for us to see as our other target, because it will resist attacks from all of our Pokemon here. Oh yeah, I guess the downside here is that Houndoom is kind of made of glass. Ow. Don't hit yourself in confusion, please. Thank goodness. We now chip Farfetch'd just a little bit more, which should give us basically the exact amount of damage that we need here to be able to properly ball up that Pokemon. In fact, Roselia, you can just take the fall. There is no more EXP in this fight. So that does not matter to me. Let's try flamethrowing the Altaria. Which surely will be the exact moment that we find out suddenly, oh my god, this thing does, like, simply too much damage. Like, remember when it just immediately turned that Shelter into paste that one time? Oh, that's evasion down. Whatever. That doesn't really have much of an effect here. See, and to think you could have had an actual... You could have let one of my Pokemon get hit by Shadow Sky. And look at what you chose not to do. Unfortunately, Celio does not have a guaranteed status effect move. Our best option here is Body Slam for that. Don't press Aurora Beam. That will insta-kill this thing, probably. Meanwhile, Houndoom is just in the middle of a big old stop hitting yourself, stop hitting yourself, stop hitting yourself bit. Thank you. You actually pierced through the confusion. Holy shit. Unfortunately, she did. Rest and rip. Claydol, get out here, because honestly, it doesn't matter. Because I'm pretty sure next turn we just start chucking balls and see what happens. I mean, I guess the other option, we go for Body Slam on Celio, and Claydol can be the position that we throw a ball from. Hooray! We caught Altaria. Altaria. Yeah, get out of here, you. Give me your random birds also. Oh, off she goes. She's too humiliated to continue any further, I suppose. Fill up our health meters, and I actually should go back and go get a bunch more Pokeballs because our future has a lot of Shadow Pokemon to contend with. I don't think there's a regular item shop at Gaddion Port. We got to go back to Outskirts Stand. Duststar, how's it going? Hope you're having a nice evening. Gotta make sure I go all the way across the map. Go get some more supplies here. Glad to hear it. Glad to hear it. This guy. Grab. I'm actually going to max my supply out here, basically. I mean, not completely. Do I have anything I can sell that's worth the money here? Or I guess it's just not worth my energy. Oh, yeah, I've got a guard spec I can dump. Right. I also don't really feel that I need these. Well, I certainly don't need protein. If I'm going to use any of them, I'd give a Carbos and an iron to Magneton. In fact, I actually will use the... I will do something that I very rarely do, and I will give the vitamins to one of my Pokemon. Because we are in such a position where these are not necessarily the easiest to come by. And by that I mean... By that I mean I really need to put my words to a little better use here. And say that we're in such a position where gathering effort values is not as easy as all that. We've also got a couple of TMs that I can sell here that are just not my speed, even for this game. But I think our stock of Pokeballs is probably good enough for the time being. We should buy a couple more Hyper Potions, though. I guess I can sell those Poke Snacks, but... yeah. Let's go down to almost nothing. But we're taking those because they will help us out quite a bit during boss fights. That's right. They're very good for humans to eat, I swear. How close is a human to being a Pokemon is my question. Hi, Tev. I see you presumably got out of raiding tonight or something. Told them you had a strange cough that you don't understand or something. I don't know. The Vaporeon speech. Oh, goodness. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, this is a judgment-free zone. But I will say, please do at least get some more new material. Listen, somebody out there has to be willing to write up an essay about how, I don't know, what's a good one for me to pick here that's, like, slightly bothersome? It's the Shinra building. A little bit, actually, come to think of it. I mean, not completely. But it is definitely very much in the vein of every other sort of like big nasty building. It's also embedded into a volcanic island. Or I'm presuming it to be volcanic. There is surface magma, so... Streamer, there's a word for surface magma. It's called lava, you idiot. Yeah, you're right. Sorry. But there's exposed surface lava. There's me having a really bad matchup here, actually, but... Oh, also, Tav, I don't know how much of this you've been here for. Did you catch the fact that they named this building... They've named the location of their secret hideout. They've named it Citadark Isle. A combination of the words Citadel and Dark. These guys do not know what subtlety is. And you may be asking, do I mean the developers or do I mean the villains? And the answer is yes. Actually, here's one that you'll find really funny just in of itself. The main leader of the bad guys is named Greevil. I mean, hey, to be fair, I think I respect not trying more than trying and failing sometimes. Literally exactly as I'm hoping he does. Unfortunately, not literally, but he definitely is kind of like goofy looking, in my opinion. That is just my opinion, though, man. Anyway. Yeah, bit of an asterisk on that one, Dustar, because Mirror B did exist in Coliseum, but otherwise, I mean, close enough, right? That's just actually the same game, pretty much. It was the prequel to this one, or this is the sequel to that one, rather. So, yeah, same series, same sub-series of Pokemon, but yeah. He does have the music in this game, which is pretty good. He's got different music in Pokemon Coliseum, which, give me a second, and for anyone who's never heard that, I will grab that real quick because it's pretty good also. Yeah. They haven't released this they haven't released that one on any virtual console thing that I'm aware of, though, which is kind of sad. Anyway, I am going to find and mute the game audio. Oh, right. I have to actually do that through the sound mixer. Give me just a second, because we're going to listen to a little bit of that, because just in case people haven't heard, because it's real good. Okay, listen, it's really good, but I think I gotta go back to the actual game audio otherwise. I'd say otherwise somebody will get mad at me, but it is the internet. People will find reasons to get mad at you for literally anything, won't they? Oh, I'd be really sad if that happened, because if that's something that gets specifically copyright zonked, I'd be upset. Anyway, apparently releasing Coliseum on Switch this month. That's cool. I am glad for that, because I am an avowed fan of Pokemon Coliseum. I definitely think that this game does the mechanics better, and it's not as hard as Coliseum is, perhaps to the surprise of nobody, but just in general, I enjoy Colo quite a bit. Might consider it better than this one. Not sure, but absolutely. I am so glad that it gets to be a thing again. In general, I think that the Ore games hit the exact sort of like tone whiplash that I think is very funny for a Pokemon game. Under the circumstances of most franchises, I'd be like, that may not necessarily be such a good idea, but when you take the idea of the dark, edgy Pokemon game and you have, like, the most obvious villains in the world between, you've got Greevil on Citadark Isle, and in the other game you have Nascour and Evice, who literally challenge you to a fight at, like, the top of a giant coliseum, at the top of a giant tower, to try to humiliate you on a world stage. When really all they have to do is just distribute photographs of Wes and be like, look at this Shadow the Hedgehog looking ass, and people would immediately start making gags. And you take all of that and the idea of these guys are trying to make these Pokemon evil and violent to attack people, and you have a team that is just stealing Pokemon by force in a way that feels a lot more menacing than the bumbling idiots of Team Rocket. But you also have the guy with the giant Pokeball afro who brings his disco music with him every time he fights, and his entire party is Ludicolo and Sudowoodo. I forgot the name of Sudowoodo for a second. That's embarrassing. And to me, it's just like, that is the perfect energy for... God, my voice cracked, sorry. The perfect energy for a Pokemon game. And it won't raise questions for me the way, what's another game that has, like, a good, like, really wild tonal clash in it? I'm gonna go with, in this case, Advance Wars Days of Ruin, because I've been thinking about Advance Wars Days of Ruin a little bit recently. Just for some reason, it just kind of... my brain works in ways that don't necessarily add up. So, Advance Wars Days of Ruin is the kind of infamous entry in the game, which is very, like, dark and edgy. To a lot of people, it's like, okay, we're gonna serious up a little bit about war, because, I don't know, maybe somebody pointing and laughing at the absolute goofball shit that was going on in Dual Strike kind of got under somebody's skin a little bit. I don't necessarily believe it to be that bad personally, but I do understand why someone may not like it. But what I will say here is that you have all of that going on. Meanwhile, also, the big bad, Dr. Calder, has, like, a bunch of clones of himself that are all girls with bright blue anime hair. And, like, if you look over at, like, Captain Brenner and Will and Lynn and Calder, and then you look over at Tabitha and Penny, those two are not from the same game! Those two belong to the main Advance Wars series! Like, seriously, man! But yeah, unfortunately, I think Advance Wars is kind of dead in the water. Even though I would very much love for it to regain a little bit of momentum. I mean, Reboot Camp was successful, right? So, there's part of me, maybe I'm just malding, but there's part of me that's like, there's hope for it yet. Yeah, no, they didn't really do very well with that. I will admit that, like, not good timing to be launching that game when we've also got the whole shit that was happening in Ukraine, basically. Put it nicely. Not a great timing for that. which is, it's all very unfortunate. I would love for them to have actually... I would love for there to be another Advance Wars game, but unfortunately, I think the period of Advance Wars as a series is just not going to be much of it. I think that that's kind of over, you know? Absolutely heart-wrenching to say that, but yeah, I don't think that's going to be a thing. Maybe I'll be proven wrong. Honestly, I feel like even a lot of the fan community in general is kind of not much of a thing anymore, or maybe I just was unlucky enough to not see a whole lot of activity from that anymore. Ouch. Yeah, Kangaskhan hitting pretty hard. I suppose that's not too surprising. Yeah, fair enough, because you're not wrong to say that, guys, because that's definitely where we're at. Insys knows where the money is, and unfortunately, the money is in waifu games. That's mean to Fire Emblem. The Fire Emblem games are actually kind of all right sometimes. They got problems, but don't we all? Yes, I said I could probably do something for that, depending on what you need, basically. So let's see if we can get Kangaskhan of Tarkir here into our Pokeball. I mean, we could try for a good couple of turns, but we're hoping for it now, obviously. Yeah! That's way easier than dealing with the fucking Safari Zone, I'll tell you that. Okay. I'm trying to plan out my course of action here. And I think it's going to be do this. And then... yeah, it didn't die. It's... we're using our worst attacking stat and... but I was going to try to switch Magneton back in, even though that's very high risk, but... oh, well. That's very good, and to be fair, it has that going for it, which is the matter of accessibility. Accessibility. That... now, everybody and their mother, I think, is freely able to be like, well, emulation is so easy these days, and... yes, emulation is pretty easy. I don't disagree with that. But as I've said before, when I talked about the Yu-Gi-Oh! Early Days collection, for example, that isn't really good enough for some people who just have absolutely no technological knowledge whatsoever. And admittedly, I get it, because I would prefer to just do something that's a very simple plug-and-play kind of method, too. of just like anything that involves as little effort as possible to get rolling, you better believe that I would prefer that over the alternative. But it doesn't usually fit what I want out of a lot of those things. But also for a lot of people, it's like, there are a lot of people who are just straight up tech illiterate, basically. I don't know what else to say, and I don't want to reduce this to being a thing about me complaining about young people, although, sure, that's not unusual that it is kind of, I say it all the time, the young folks don't know how to pirate anymore. That is true, but that's not really the problem, is it? It's like, sure, once you understand how to set up RetroArch, or better yet, a separate emulator, it's quite easy, but it's the matter of learning that and piecing that together. And I also think that a lot of people are just really bad teachers in terms of that stuff, too. That is an underrated issue with emulation and similar technologies, or really all computer tech in general. For example, have any of you ever tried to learn how to use Linux? Yeah, you kind of need, like, friends who know how to do it, because if you just ask random Linux enthusiasts, it's like they want to wall the garden harder, you know? They are, if you ever see, like, the stereotype of the hipster, you know, somebody who is all like, it's pretty obscure, you've probably never heard of it, and often seems like they want the things they love to fail and be less well known, so that way they have something to dangle over people. There are a shocking amount of Linux people who are exactly like that. And to be fair, there are quite a lot of people who are also quite good at that stuff. I don't want to pretend that those people don't exist. But I'm going to say it right now that if anyone out there wants to protest my opinion on this and wants to be like, oh, well, I'm actually one of the good ones, or, oh, well, there's plenty of good people too, I'm going to immediately flag you in my brain as not being that. But I digress. I got a little bit sidetracked here, which tends to happen anyway. I see that this fella is using the Fragile Speedster archetype here. That you're not one at all. I mean, that's fair. I do actually still kind of want to look into the prospect of doing Linux stuff. I mean, it doesn't help, or perhaps it doesn't hurt, as the case may be, that right now Windows is kind of in the state of, like, you know, Microsoft is doing a whole bunch of other shit that is not great. Rather infamously, I think we all kind of know about the attempts at age verification technology that they're doing. But there's all kind of other problems with Windows 11 and all of that. And not to mention, so much of the entirety, basically, of computer ecosystems in general are basically trying to hustle along this idea of ending support for older versions of Windows. Steam doesn't work with Windows 7 anymore, from what I understand, so you've got a lot of that shit going down. And that's not great, because how soon after Microsoft ends all security update support for Windows 10 is Steam gonna go, oh yeah, it's Windows 11 or get fucked? And yeah, the AI vibe coding. I think also the other things that they're doing with their AI too are worth... You know, the amount that they keep trying to push their AI assistant is like, yeah, I'm not one for that. Do male-female sprite changes as an option. I could take a look at that in any of the Emerald decomps and see what I can tell you. But yeah, there's also some problems with just the amount of laws that are cropping up for OSs requiring age verification now. There was some discussion, I think, about it happening in California, but there's also a bill that exists or has been passed. I don't know if it's been passed yet or if it's just going through our state legislature here in Illinois, that is also along that lines. So Midnight BSD is apparently no longer available in Illinois. There's some other places too, including New York State, which New York State is trying to pass one of those laws. And the thing that you have to remember about these is that all of that stuff is a backdoor to feeding your information to Palantir and various other surveillance companies. It's truly not about protecting kids. Oh. Egan doesn't know how to... Oh, he janked because he's an old technology not using man. So... Yep. Proper double game with RS hacks. You see, I think the issue here is that I don't know how much there is in terms of decomp of Ruby and Sapphire. So, yeah. Yeah, it's real great, isn't it? When I grew up, I really loved computers and technology in general, and now I'm just like burn it all down kind of levels. Yeah, that's pretty great. Also, I love that there's just access to bare lava here. This is definitely a choice. Yeah, that's how that works. I'm no lava expert, but that's definitely how that works. Yeah, I also would prefer the idea of, like, breaking down this amount of everything that's just coalesced into a very small amount of websites. I hesitate to necessarily use the phrase that we should make using the internet more complicated again, but ultimately maybe that is kind of fair. And it's not because because I want to shut out the normies, although, I mean, I can't argue with that. But also just by virtue of the fact that by making this stuff more distributed, you don't have all of thought being controlled by like 3 people. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying, is that I don't like having... I kind of don't like having anything that's like a do-it-all device, period, on top of the idea of we don't need everything apps. So, I mean, that's kind of just related, but, you know. Anyway, I'm doing my part. Insert the meme from Starship Troopers. I'm doing my part by having a personal website. Unfortunately, it is still hosted on NeoCities. Maybe one of these days I will invest in a tiny machine to be like a small server or something. But also, saying invest in seems like a bit of a strong in there, because prices are going to skyrocket. On RAM and shit. So yeah, NeoCities isn't a bad option, but ultimately I think that the final boss of that kind of thing, and what I would love to eventually become capable of, would be to just have like my own machine to have as a web server for stuff like that. I'm not saying that I would store everything on there, because I still leave all my VODs on YouTube, because that's so much storage space, and also because I feel like taxing their servers is the least I can do for them anyway. But yeah, one of these days I would love to make that be a thing, but also, I mean, yeah. Maybe one day I'll win the lottery is kind of where it's at for that sort of thing. Clearly, I gotta go gambling, you know. Let's go gambling. I still haven't 100%ed Clover Pit yet. I'd say I need to finish that, but that's like, that'll happen when it does, because LOL RNG. Anyway, that's a whole other side story there. Become ungovernable is absolutely the phrase that I would use in that case. More likely I'd ever enjoy Star Ocean 5. Yeah, that's a big good fucking luck, buddy. On that one, because ooh, technically that's a video game, but also this guy I think has Shadow Pokemon, but I don't recall. Okay, yeah, he's got Magmar, and clearly he's going to have a second one as is his other position, right? How long before I win the lottery with that in mind? Oh, jeez. Yeah, that would take a while. At that point, robbing a bank is probably the smarter choice. Note, I'm not considering doing that. That's going a little far. It's a joke. Unfortunately, I do have to say that because that's the world we live in. Okay, so Magmar, do you have Flash Fire as an ability? You do not. I think Magmar has Flame Body as its like fire-related ability. At least it's taking absolutely nothing from that, so that's good. Unfortunately, I do kind of have to act a little bit fast and try to get one of these Pokemon off the board. Yeah, Pinsir is not taking like any damage from... So I could probably safely just Hyper Beam it. On the other hand, I don't want to do that, I don't think. But being quite honest with you, if Claydol is about to take a dirt nap anyway, provided we get a turn here, that's probably a completely fair course of action. And holy hell, that was a lot more damage. This might be a capture that I can just make with an Ultra Ball now. Magneton, get in there. Yeah, I looked away for a sec to pull up my big list. Did I crit? Because, yeah, the rain ended, but that's even more of a damage accelerant than I would have expected for that. Okay. Because, yeah, the rain should only cut the damage in half. I think. So I'm just kind of shocked by how hard that hit. Anyway, we got Magmar. And, yeah, I was going to say Magneton should be able to Thunder Wave before Pinsir gets to act. Pinsir, who is probably one of the best Swords Dancers in Gen 1. Which is really telling you a lot because it gets walled by Ghastly in Gen 1. Leech Seed, Rain Dance. Well, yeah, it wouldn't be very effective because the obvious reasons, but anyway, I was just checking because I missed if there was a crit, and it's like, that is way more damage than I would expect, even with the rain ending. But, hey, I wasn't keeping great score anyway, so. Okay. Roselia is hitting the ground. Celio can come in and Body Slam should be okay. Obviously, don't Water Pulse, because that will just kill this thing, but I want to check my stats real quick and do a little bit of mathematics here. Yeah. My attack is lower than my special attack by a good chunk, which is what I thought, but I wasn't completely sure, so yeah. Well, I mean, eventually the VOD will be up on YouTube, so at least there's... I don't remember why I don't have my things save as VODs. I also don't remember how to turn that back on. I think it might have been something where it was like I had a browser open and it was like a full monitor view, and I didn't want people to see that. It's a wonder I get anything done on the internet at all when I assume that people are this judgmental. Anyway, we can go back and we can heal. Oh, right. Why did I assume I could, like, jump down or something? Come on. Maybe in Coliseum that it happened. No, I wouldn't go that far. Nope. That's a camera angle. It's pretty rough, actually. And we get to walk behind this wall of lava for some reason. This is definitely how any of this works, right? Okay, leave that information for me somewhere, but have to be quiet. At least on that one. I will be right back, everybody. I'm back, as you probably guessed. I do, however, have the mic out of the mic stand right now because I'm pulling the chair up. Let me fix that. There we go. That is great. Well, probably great anyway. Oh, that's not my B button. Okay. Let's move forward and... Oh, there's another PC here, so that's... useful. Oh, boy. I'm thinking that my best course of action here is going to be to switch to Rain Dance Thunder strats for a bit. Oh, yeah, you can just do that through Twitch's interface. I local record my VODs, though, and upload them to YouTube that way. Just that way I can cut out the part where I've got like 10 minutes of sort of a waiting room, and then the end of stream section where it's just me basically putting up that sort of Game Boy Light looking animation and saying, hey, here's where you can find my stuff. I can't remember off the top of my head, because I haven't done that in a very long while. I think as long as your YouTube account is verified, you should be fine to be able to just post them that way. I think. Obviously, I don't know, but... yeah, of course Sharpedo gets at least one hit in, because it's fast as hell. Oh boy. And that's before... well, it doesn't have Swift Swim, it gets Shark Skin. Rough Skin, pardon me. The Japanese name is specifically Shark Skin, or translates to Shark Skin anyway. So... all right. Oh, neat. Actually, correction, apparently... Sharks... no, it does. I mean, it can still kind of mean rough skin, but it very literally means shark skin, which is why it's only on the shark lines. It's only on Carvana, Sharpedo, the Garchomp line, and Druddigon, which I guess is kind of like... it's got a little bit of shark to it-ish. Wrote me a haiku. That's fun. Oh, I thought you weren't gonna fight me for a second. Just... oh, sorry, this is a dead end. Thanks. That would have been funnier, actually, but I digress. Yeah, not much going on in this fight, as you can tell. There's a lot of bugs. You're probably as lost as everyone else here, right? Oh, don't worry about that, buddy. I will throw you into the dang lava if I have to. Well, that wheezing might take a couple of hits, but I guess it depends more on if I ever decide to switch or not. Wobbuffet. Not a big fan of that, but oh well. Oh. All right, then. I didn't see it Destiny Bond. Oh well. I may not necessarily have been looking that hard, but hey. That's fine as long as it's off the field. As long as we get through the fight. That's the thing that matters here. Especially because we can just go backwards and heal if we need to. They definitely made this a big, long final dungeon here. I mean, before the next boss, there are at least 5 other Cypher Peon type trainers who have shadow Pokemon for us to catch. And that's just these dudes. There's all of the other types of guys around that could be an issue. Magneton is not well suited to being out here right now. Admittedly, this guy does look like he could be set up for doing earthquake shenanigans because Weezing has Levitate. And Camerupt, well, obviously Camerupt gets earthquake as an option. But no, he's just setting up Amnesia. That's fine. Meanwhile, Celio can use some Water Pulse on Camerupt for some pretty good damage. Here's Muck. Muck is something that would be a lot safer having Magneton out for. But I think he's sending out... Yeah, I was going to say he's sending out a Shadow Rapidash. Which, yeah, by the way, level 40. They are ramping things up quite a bit. I mean, the first Shadows that we got here were level 33. I mean, I guess fair enough. This is a nice long hallway of progression here, so for them to push some more stuff toward us, not a bad idea. Now, meanwhile, Celio has basically been in for all of the experience that it will get here. And since Rapidash is a Shadow Pokemon, it's just going to be using Shadow moves. I don't have to be more or less concerned about it using Fire. So Magneton is at the same level of risk, really. Since this reduces what? Oh, it's -2 defense to both of our party members. That's rough. Oh, jeez. Muck with Flamethrower, huh? That wasn't really expected. I think I knew sorry, I almost said I think I knew Fuck could get Mire Blast, but that's not what I'm trying to say here. I think I knew Muck could get Fire Blast. I didn't know about Flamethrower. But good to know that apparently Fuck can get my Flamethrower also. I may now be kind of stuck to using that nomenclature for the rest of time. Magneton, hit that Rain Dance. Yeah, how long has it had access to the Flamethrower? Probably its entire lifespan. I just never knew. Anyway, this dude has Magcargo as his last Shadow Pokemon, which is, truth be told, just a very funny thing to see, period, because I feel I've said before that Magcargo is kind of one of the worst Pokemon in history. And let me tell you, my opinion has not changed at any point. That thing sucks. Let's paralyze it real quick. Like, Magcargo has the seriously unfortunate aspect. I mean, all considered, it's not like the worst design. It's kind of cute, looks really dopey with its face. But in terms of being a good Pokemon, being a fire rock type that is as slow as that and just keels over to a special attack, it's got some problems, to put it nicely. It's not one I would ever use, let's just say that. However, I did say I'm going to try to capture all the Shadow Pokemon, so in the ball you go, buddy. Speaking of which, speaking of Magcargo, because this is one of the small number of Pokemon that you can get in both of these games. In Colosseum, if you do not pick Quilava as your, like, sort of, as the Johto starter that you pick up, God help you if you feel that you need a fire type at any point in the game up until you catch Entei. Then. Because, yeah, you'll be a little bit hard up for other options, we'll put it that way. Anywho, I did pull up Muck's Learn Set, and Flamethrower for Muck is obtainable starting in Gen 2. It wasn't Gen 1, but it can have it in Gen 1 if you do trade backs. So, I mean, that's like half credit, I think. So yeah, that'll probably be why I didn't know it could get Flamethrower, because it can get Fire Blast. And I think Muck would probably be a decent Pokemon if it weren't for the fact that Gen 1 is ruled by the Psychic type. From a perspective of being like a good metagame, Gen 1 is a weird mess. It's a good thing the games are fun and the designs are, like, still pretty good. Even if a lot of them are super basic, I appreciate the Gen 1 designs because they're, well, most of them aren't too over-designed and they're still kind of alright. A lot of them aren't necessarily unique, but what do you need from a video game, right? Yeah, exactly. Gen 1 is basically get Psychic types in Tauros. Like, your average competitive team in Gen 1, which would still be, again, inside of Smogon OU, is basically Tauros, Snorlax, Chansey, Zam, Exeggutor, and Starmie. And sometimes a little bit of variance in there, but more or less it's that. Secretly good at the game all along. Well, yeah, if you just main Tauros, it basically tears the game in half. Slight asterisk there, Duststar, because yes, crits were tied to speed. The crit rate in Gen 1 is equal to your Pokemon's base speed stat. So the thing that's hard-coded according to the species, not the number that it achieved through levels, divided by 512. Which means that, yes, every faster Pokemon inherently crits more often. The main difference there is that for moves that are high crit rate, it's that number over 64. So most Pokemon worth their salt that can use Slash will basically always crit with it. Like Persian, it's either you crit or you get the 1 in 256 miss. Meanwhile, one-hit kill moves and accuracy are not really related to speed at all. The only way that it matters is that if your Pokemon has a lower base speed stat than the opponent, I believe, is how it works, then one-hit kills do not hit at all. So, in that case, yes, Dugtrio is basically the best fissure user, but in order to change the accuracy any, your main way of doing that involves using an X accuracy on your Pokemon. And then it's just like, hey, as long as you outspeed, it's instant death. And provided they're not immune by type, because that part still exists in that era and has ever since. Which is why there was a period when Sheer Cold was the king of one-hit kill moves, even though really things had changed so much that they were not that much of a thing that anyone had to pay attention to. But I digress. Nevertheless, Dugtrio has like 100 speed or something, so it's got a 20% chance of crit with EQ. Yeah, there is that too, that Articuno had probably Mind Reader or something. And Sheer Cold, so you could do stuff like that. Articuno's best use by that period, I'm pretty sure, though, was taking it to doubles and being a Blizzard spammer. You weren't really guaranteed to get hits, but you would be able to do crap loads of damage. And of course, Gen 1 Articuno was also a big, bombastic Blizzard button, so the more things change, the more they stay the same, really. Oh, God, yeah. Articuno got kicked in the cloaca from that. Because it is one of those many Pokemon that it's like, okay, its good special stat ended up being defense, but it really liked having its special offense, because Articuno was 125 special, I think. And then that got shifted all to defense, and it got like 80 or something special attack, which is mediocre. Tauros also had a little bit of that. Tauros wasn't the world's greatest special attacker, but it had 70 special in Gen 1. That was workable. And then the split happened, and it had 70 special defense and 40 special attack. So that kind of wasn't a great time. I mean, Tauros started to become unviable after that point for various other reasons, but oof. Hold up, I'm just scrolling through the... I was out of position on my list here because of reasons. And I just want to get back into position here for the whole shadow list so I know where I'm at. Yeah, the Paldean Tauros forms are pretty fun. I like those a fair bit. Although, admittedly, I just kind of miss good old Gen 1 Tauros, and I clicked the wrong button on that Cacturn. Ooh, whoops. Meanwhile, Ninetales is digging straight at Magneton. This is also another really great thing about having Magneton in the lead, is that it is excellent bait for making opponents hit dig. And then just kind of go, oh, yeah, actually, that's not going to do anything. Because I can just easily swap to Claydol, and yeah, now suddenly dig misses. which is great. It's not Gen 1 powered dig anymore, although really the 2-turn moves are so predictable that I think putting dig back at 100 power would still be perfectly viable. It would be a little bit strong for purposes of the in-game game, but big whoop, really. It's all right. If you want the absolute champion of the Gen 1 legendary birds, Zapdos is still good. Yeah, I mean, there's that too. The fact that Earthquake is still that strong, it certainly wouldn't be viable in 1v1 competitive. And in fact, I think even in the more official doubles format would be like, yeah. Yeah, that is correct. Galarian Articuno, who is a psychic flying type instead. So that thing can be pretty strong. I haven't used it very much, to be honest with you, but I admit that I have been a little bit out of competitive Pokemon for a minute, so my knowledge is kind of outdated. I mean, if the Tynamo family got Wonder Guard, they would be vulnerable to ground again. So it wouldn't be like a great choice because it's not exactly a type pattern that's riddled with weaknesses, but it would be less painful than it would initially sound. Fighting it would still be a rat bastard is the important part here. Oh, yikes. Yeah, it's... Right, I think that would be the thing that would kind of make it a little bit of a problem if it had Wonder Guard, is the fact that when you compare it against Shedinja, it's pretty burly. But meanwhile, Shedinja is kind of typed, so it still has a lot of things that could hit it for super effective. Not the most or anything. It's not like Grass Psychic or anything, which nowadays, ugh. I don't want to touch that one with a 10-foot pole, but it's not like the most amazing. It is orchestrated to be a bit of a gimmick Pokemon, which is perhaps where it should be. It still has, like, very specific uses that it can easily defeat very specific Pokemon. But, dang it, Celio. Come on. Rain Dance is not going to cause this to require more turns suddenly. Is it? I had to have done that earlier, but it's worth a shot. You can say maybe it'll interfere or something. Yeah, the goofball gimmick Pokemon are definitely something that is kind of fun. Oh, Shuckle is genuinely one of the funniest Pokemon, period, just because its stats in general are so extreme. Power Trick Shuckle is kind of one of the funniest things ever, even though that would never work in a serious environment. Nobody would let you get away with that. Actually, I almost kind of wonder if that has ever seen any success in the official 2v2 competitive format, because I know that official competitive loves Trick Room. Yeah, it was Solar Beam. It was cut in half by rain. Okay, I wasn't sure if it would do that. I had a feeling that it wouldn't cause it to extend the charge time, which I'm pretty sure Solar Beam takes 2 turns to charge in rain, but I guess only if it starts. Ooh, we got some full restorers. Yes. Very good. We will probably want those once the time comes to deal with the final boss. Probably only once or twice. Yeah, it's about what I would... I would assume that it wouldn't be very frequent, that's for sure. Yeah, that part I remembered, is that it's a fast charge under sunlight. I think quite a lot of the charge moves have stuff like that. Like Archaludon's charge move has a fast charge under rain, I believe, so... Yeah, a thing I remember in particular is people tried to theory craft around Mousehold for using King's Rock, I think, with it, and it still kind of has all the usual problems that it does. And it's like, this sounds cool, and then you realize that it's not actually doing all that, and something with Skill Link is gonna operate better. But hey, nice idea, guy. Let's rain dance it up. Yeah, exactly. Is that Skill Link is still the way to go with it. But it is a Pokemon that's just kind of sitting there just like, hey, Theory Crafters, check this out. Oh, well, that was a good attack that did nothing to me, so that's excellent. I guess we'll just bite the Swalot then, and we will Thunder Relicanth. Oh, that's slightly annoying. He used that, but I think we still got enough damage to take this thing out. Yeah. Yeah, that's also a distinct possibility. I just wasn't sure if it had better better item options. Oh, you jerk. He paralyzed me off of Body Slam, which, to be fair, that's like a 30% chance. That's not that. The loaded die just, in general, has been quite good for a lot of other Pokemon that rely on the standard 2 to 5 multi-hit moves. I used that with Baxcalibur for a good while for doing raids. And it generally has proved to be pretty solid in that role. Whenever I need an Ice-type attack, that will do a good amount of work usually. I mean, for any of the, like, 7 stars, that's You need something different, but that's kind of to be expected, I think. Quagsire. That is a Pokemon that Magneton cannot deal with, and unfortunately, we're losing the 25% 2 in a row, which is just rude, game. At least I'm pretty sure in this era it's 25% to get fully paralyzed. Excuse me. Ouch. Oh, well, we lived through it and got our speed reduced as much as that matters. But that should take out Golduck, which is, at this point, all we really need Magneton to do. It's just going to sit in to continue gaining experience now. Because why do we need to split this further? Giga Drain. And that should probably be a one-shot. Yeah. Quagsire, of course, being one of those Pokemon. Speaking of competitive stuff, Quagsire is a Pokemon that is infamous for just showing up in super high tiers where it generally has no business being and doing very funny things because of its ability. And it has just basically just the exact set of tools to be an absolute comedian. Clodsire is pretty great too. Okay, let's take a look at what we want to do with our party arrangement here. I think we're just going to put Claydol up front. And honestly, I kind of am tempted to leave Magneton in the front too, not going to lie. But we'll do this. And you know what? I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use the Earthquake TM on Ursaring. You've got space for this, right, dude? Come on. You don't need that refresh anymore. If you really need to tank turns that badly, Metal Claw will probably do it for you. Carbon and Petro. That is admittedly a good pair of names. Shadow Ball targeting Medicham and just EQ for Ursaring. Yeah, they're pretty good. This is a pretty solid design they're using for this. Ouch! Although, yeah, Metacham's attack power is gross. So that's kind of fair. But still, dang! As he swaps in Xatu, and Golem goes... Golem takes out Ursaring. Lasted 1 turn. Ooh. That's rough. All right, so this is this guy's shadow Pokemon, and the other dude has Hitmonlee. Now, we're waiting to do that until... We're waiting to switch Celio out for Magneton until after it gets all the EXP that it can here. Which will be that we do that next turn. Yeah, Celio's Body Slam doesn't do very much, so it's fine. Okay, we may not even have to switch. Ouch. Very weird that it took a second for the bar to move there. Alright, let's Ultra Ball. We should be good to catch this thing, but I could be wrong. Get this! Good way to start your little speech here, buddy. Alright, Grumpig and Skarmory are his leads here. Somehow I'm not really worried about these guys. Oh, especially because Magneton is back up at our front lines here. Prepared to gather all of the experience from this zone, basically. Setting up Magic Coat, which reflects status moves, I think, so... Yeah. Metang. So for that, I would really want a Fire type out, which I could do that, but I like where I'm sitting now with my current lineup of fellas. And you can see, as usual, there's Magneton just kind of hard countering Skarmory, by the way. He's got Hariyama as his next Pokemon. That thing will probably take a hit or two. Probably, because Hariyama is a Pokemon with a massive HP stat. In general, I'm pretty sure Hariyama's base stats are just, like, really well-tuned. In fact, let me go pull this up. Yeah, I mean, its defenses are mediocre, but 144 base HP. That is a chunkster. And only 40 special attack and 50 speed. With its 120 attack power. Yeah, Hariyama is very, very min-maxed. Fit in with the sumo Pokemon here. Right, so we just Psychic that, and T-Wave Hitmonlee. Oh, look at how fast he is. Dang. Oh, shit. It has Limber. That's a problem. That requires me to use something that can chip it down a little better. And we cannot rely on Paralysis to get a catch rate buff. I also can't rely on other statuses because I basically cannot inflict them at all. I mean, technically I could burn it, but, like, it'll die if I do that. If I try to flamethrower it. It's also strong as fuck, so... may even be prudent to give it the business a little bit more severely. Yeah, special defense drop on Shadow Ball, which... for those of you who forgot, that isn't a helpful option for that move because it's physical damage in Gen 2 and 3. Gen 4, it's fine, obviously, but in Gen 2 and 3, it is dying to a crit is what is happening there. Claydol, god damn it. Oh. Oh, boy. Well, yeah. You guys can't see how pained my expression is, but it's... oh, boy. Oh, jeez. Well, do we start making our way out of this place to go see if we can catch Mirror B somewhere and try to get that? I think we do. Yes, we gotta have just one more visit to that guy, informed by our poor luck Well, I'll tell you this much. That would be really helpful if I could do that, so... If they would allow me to, I absolutely would. Although I guess, where would he get the shadow Pokemon in that case, if I did that? I'm just going to go straight to Realgam Coliseum, because I predict that that's where he would show up. Although I haven't gotten a message yet, so... Try going elsewhere as well. Drop by Mount Battle, I guess. Unless he doesn't show up until, like, the post-game or something. Time to go take a look, just in case. And it says he'll only show up if I'm currently missing a shadow Pokemon, but I am, and anything elsewhere, so... Yeah, I'm just trying to get him to show up. At this point, I guess I could try going back to Gadion Port and see what happens here. Because he hasn't shown up again. Unless those two guys show up, reappear or something. Does this go anywhere? No. We'd probably unlock that later. Yeah, we will just have to wait for later, I guess, until the notification comes up, and then I'll deal with it. For now, I guess we press on, and I just feel like a complete goofball for that. Okay, now we've got this going on here. That didn't take us anywhere, I guess. Are you sure about that? Let me just make sure. Yeah, nothing happens. It's not a way for us to leave. Huh? Oh, wait a second here. There we go. Why didn't it work before? Oh, see, there he is. There's our targeting location for him. I guess I just have to hope that it doesn't expire by the time we get out of here. Oh. There we go. Oh, I'm tapped out, isn't it? Whoops. And he's at the cave poke spot, so we gotta go as fast as we can with this. Come on. Of course, fast escape is not really a thing that's very possible right now. Not from this location. Maybe if that elevator worked, but... cave spot, right? There he is! It's time. It's time for my controller to have a moment, I guess. That's better. Yeah! The music is just perfectly timed to that part of his intro. Honestly, though, like, they should have done more with this guy. He was real good. He's got some varied moves in his pools here. However, he's not doing much damage to break through the bear. I mean, yeah, honestly, like, I don't want to be the person who's, like, looking over at Masters EX and going, yeah, do more with this, but also, gee, maybe it would be at least, you know, at least something. I'm getting starved over here. It's doing pretty good considering that's obviously an accident, but jeez, the damage here, although I mean that's perhaps to be expected. Ursaring does kind of hit like a truck made of bears. Nice and easy. See, once it's outside the context of being part of a sequential battle, it becomes much less painful. And he is out of there, complete with his gangly legs. Let's heal up real quick. Okay, we're back where we were last time. Everybody is filled, right? Yeah. With only Roselia and Claydol being at a level below 40. So let's put them at the front to go gain some more experience. As I know that it's not boss time just yet. Because, yeah, now we get to take a look around this place. And you do not have a shadow Pokemon for me to worry about, so that's great. Especially with a leadoff like this, which is not ideal for us, to put it nicely. Ah, dang it. Oh, it's trying to guard up again. Yeah, that doesn't work out. Take it from me. Chance of that detect happening. They say it's a coin flip in this era, but I don't believe that shit. Here's Smeargle. Its move pool could be anything. Yeah, this might hurt because it's got to be going at Claydol, right? Yeah. Ouch. 45 damage. Well, I guess Roselia actually has usable stats. I just think that I've only ever used it in a Gen 3 game like once. Because in my mind, I'm like, okay, that's another grass poison type. And I usually already have a grass type by that point, because Gen 3 is like one of the few where my preference is actually for the grass starter as opposed to the water starter. I just kind of like Trico a little bit more than Mudkip. Despite all of the memes about Mudkip. Oh, it's prepping Solar Beam. Yeah, you do you, buddy. I don't know if I'll be able to one-shot this Smeargle, but I'm certainly very hopeful. Oh, hey, it's Altaria again. Oh, no, it was near dead anyway. What am I thinking? One shot, that's not even a thing that we got to worry about at this point. Whoops. My brain shut off again, everybody. Don't you hate it when that happens? Alright, well, our 3 lowest levels are at 40, so that's fine. We can put Celio into the front line, and it can work on getting to level 44, I guess. Which is its big checkpoint right now. Checkpoint isn't the word that I'm looking for here, but breakpoint, that's the word that I usually use for it, I think. An important demarcation, but checkpoint is still true too, so... going to have Claydol be up at the front and let it gain some experience. It is a pretty well-rounded Pokemon all around. Hey, we got some rare candies. I've got a couple other rare candies in my PC storage, so it might not be a bad idea to pick those up and put them to use. A Gromlet does not have a shadow for us to worry about. So we can just hit this guy with the shock and the awe. And that will do good for us, probably. Yeah, Sableye, not exactly a Pokemon with incredible stats. Dusclops, however, now that is something that can soak some damage. So I'm going to point that Shadow Ball at it. Yeah, so it's completely understandable that it really doesn't have stats. It deserves Wonder Card. Nowadays, sure, so that way fairy types can do even more. Right? The thing is that Sableye has, like, really good utility moves if you're able to do much with it. Yeah, that thing can take some hits, actually. It does what you would definitely call pretty decent work. Oh. Emulator lagged a little bit, and perhaps understandably so, as Wailord shows up to the battle. There it is, the ridiculously huge Pokemon. Where's the life-size plushie game? The Nintendo Pokemon Company, you cowards. As its animations all take forever. That's fair. But still. Obviously, the life-size Wailord plushie thing is a joke, and I've been saying that forever as a joke because it's as dumb as it sounds. But on the other hand, I do kind of feel like, hey, whatever, like, public-facing building that you might have of any kind where you would display big, goofy things. Have some sort of life-size Wailord object there. Just for that purpose. It's like the size of an actual dinosaur skeleton. So... or even a dinosaur that's not a skeleton, but you knew that. The life-size Eternatus plush, that's also a good humorous option. Let's take this elevator down. I need to go heal. After I got kind of beat up by a couple of dudes there. I don't feel like just using all my healing items outside of battle. Save those for when we're in the actual boss fights. Eternatus, yeah, probably the largest. Or at least quite close. I mean, certainly Eternamax, which is openly based on being stupefyingly huge, but... I don't remember about the regular size one is... oh no, 65 feet? Yeah, that is definitely the largest, because Wailord is only like 40. Only, I say. Yeah, and Eternamax, which is a 328 feet and 1 inches long, or a flat 100 meters, which... in of itself, hey. Again, put that together and stick it in, like, whatever building, you know, like, whatever biggest Pokemon Center they have. Just have it sticking out of the ceiling or something at people. Ooh, actually, what they could do with this... this is really dumb, but... again, they just build a big model of the thing out of the ceiling and, like, whatever supports you need under it, but have it, like, holding out a big basket of whatever you're, like, you know, to have that as, like, where you put whatever is it on a special or something. Just, like, have it look like it's offering it to someone who walks in. Nintendo, I have ideas for how to make things look, you know, interesting to people. I swear. I don't know that they're necessarily always good, but hey. Now, can we get this platform to extend all the way over? Or is it just going to do that? We got a new email. The okay sign next to the... I mean... yeah, there's a lot you can do with it. So this is sort of like a teleporter maze, I guess. It's just that we do this with hooks instead, huh? Alright, the purple sign. Yeah, the hook is there already, so... back on. It's over here. It's back at the start. That's fair. Okay, so how do I call these things back? I guess I don't. Then I have to find a way to get Orange Hook back over there if I want to get the item. There's nothing down there. Okay, good to know. Cyan marker. Are you sure there's nothing I can do to get that over here? I might have to just come back and do whatever involved that cyan marker over there, because it's clear that we haven't gotten access to that yet. Yeah, because the hook is all the way across the way. Maybe there will be something I can push that's like switch which spot all the hooks are in or something. Although that could still be problematic. Oh well, we'll figure this out probably. Eventually. Or we'll just miss the item. I mean, it's not like it'll be another Master Ball, so the amount of use that it would give us is at least somewhat restricted. I mean, the best thing it could probably be would be like a couple more full restores or something. Get your head, keep an eye on the ground. Okay. Alright, this guy's starting off with some electric types. That's fine, really. Guess I'll just do something like this. And spreading out the damage is probably not ideal here. Lantern is a Pokemon that I have like a weird amount of trouble ever killing in one hit. Which is weird because I don't think it's actually all that tanky. It just always seems to take not enough damage from anything I have. It's probably dangerous to stay in with this front line, but we're just going for it. Surely it can't screw us over that badly, except for all the ways it can. Well, this Magneton is resolving to just go for a targeted attack of some kind. Probably prepping Zap Cannon or something. Unfortunately, no kill there for us, but that just happens sometimes. No, if we switch, we don't have to worry about getting hit by the lock-on move. So that's fine, actually. At least we shouldn't. The lock-on effect should be dispelled here. Ah, yes. Here's your shadow Pokemon for this fight, Lickitung. That fella is looking extra goofy. Ow. That was, well, it was thunder that hit us, so of course it was quite painful. That's to be expected, honestly. Hit Lickitung with Ancient Power and Flamethrower on the Magneton, even though that's massively overkill. Assuming that we don't get hit by the by the fully paralyzed effect. In fact, Houndoom might die even, just because, yeah. Yeah, I'm not really that worried about Magneton right now. Because we have a front row consisting of a ground type and our own Magneton. It can't do that much damage to us, really. At least it shouldn't be able to. Meanwhile, we can continue to chip Lickitung for a bit. Until such time as I decide it would be worth just removing the Magneton. Reflect is worn off, so that will give us an opportunity to do a little bit more damage with Ancient Power, but we're hoping to get the capture this turn anyway. At which point, I don't think Magneton would take enough damage from Ancient Power to die, so I guess we'll find out. Yay! Lickitung usually has, like, a really bad catch rate, so I was kind of worried about that. Oh, hey, we did do enough damage there. Excellent. Excellent. Pick this up. Okay, I see what you're laying down here. These look like holes in the floor that we dropped through. That lands us right by the item. That was incredibly simple. I guess maybe I just really did internalize where that was compared to the rest of the floor, so let's try to aim for that light blue spot. Might be here. This might not be far enough over. This is... yeah, not far enough over. That's okay. I probably should go back and heal anyway. It's just that it's gonna be a long way no matter what. Because, perhaps understandably, the healing machines are kind of spaced out a little bit here. And since that doesn't go all the way over despite Switch, which I think it really should, personally, but hey. I didn't design this game, so... it's just me speaking of my preferences. So there is a thing now. It just comes up very, very rarely. Not gonna lie, this doesn't feel like the best way to pull this up. Oh. Now hold on a second. Where does this lead? It leads to a part of the map that it doesn't look like I can see. Well, now I have to investigate. Cool. Yeah, we get some max potions. That's kind of helpful. I think I would rather just have hyper potions because our Pokemon are probably not going to break 201 max health, so... Excuse me. Alright, be careful around these things. They just continue to take the worst path possible. Pick this item up. It's some full heals. I believe this is the last random trainer here who has any shadow Pokemon before our next set of bosses. So, once we're done with this one is probably when I will save for the evening. But we will decide once I actually properly deal with this. Oh. Well, good job, Exploud. Glad that did you a world of good. Scyther. Yeah, we got a Shadow Scyther, which is kind of cool, I guess. It's no Shadow Scizor, but we do technically have items to... Well, we can't trade, so... That's a very big technically with a lot of asterisks attached to it. So yeah, I think I'm going to leave Exploud alone, at least for a little bit, because this trainer has 2 Shadow Pokemon, as you might have guessed, and I would like to try to keep the amount of damage that I take from getting dogpiled down a little bit. Yeah, meanwhile, this Exploud can't hit the broadside of a barn, so I think we're okay. At least for now. Meanwhile, this is one of the tankiest Scythers that I've seen in a while, but we are hitting it with Shadow Ball off of Claydol, which is really not a physical attacker. Oh, see, there's a move that'll actually hit something. I mean, fat lot of good it did you anyway, but hey. Now here's where we use a Hyper Potion, because we need to do that healing. We need Magneton to live through this fight. And meanwhile, it's time for me to just chuck balls at the stunned Scyther, in the hopes of getting it quickly. Yeah, see, not too bad. Now for the other one, who is Chansey. Oh, geez, this is going to be kind of an odd Pokemon to actually get into our group here, because Chansey, of course, has really high special defense, very high HP, and almost no physical defense. So I would actually be worried about Ancient Power being deadly to it. Meanwhile, I'm not exactly picturing Claydol doing much of anything to chip this with Psychic, nor really Magneton with Thunderbolt. At bare minimum, though, we can paralyze it. And then we should be able to make enough progress to make the catch easy. Okay, we're actually in perfectly fine shape here, especially because Chansey doesn't do damage, really. I mean, it steadily chips us a little bit, but this isn't Gen 1 anymore. Wow, Chansey is in this low of HP. We must have crit at some point, and I wasn't looking. I was just like, yeah, just look where the bars are at the end. It'll be fine. But this should get us to catch easily enough. Which is easily enough. soon enough. That's not soon enough. All right. So we got that. Let's drop down this hole and see what's up with this cyan hook location. It does have an item. That's good. We got a couple of revives. Well, let's wrap things up by making our way back to the healing machine. And then we'll be ready to go on the next time I stream this. Yes, I said on the next time I stream this, which is a totally sensible construction. Don't worry about it. Or keep worrying about it if you like. I'm not your boss. Take our elevator down. So we have to keep going backwards in this path. I mean, I guess I understand why this doesn't come all the way over now, but I still don't like it. And in fact, I will end up making sure to save right after that hook room for next time, so that way I know what I was up to and I don't forget the path here. Not that it's not that straightforward or anything, but I would get lost and then feel really, really dumb. Okay, you can't just walk up to them, that's right. What was I thinking? All right, well, after what feels like an eternity of walking, We are right here, so let's save up and be ready for next week when we will finish this. Hopefully we'll be able to finish it next week Tuesday, but who can say? This might get quite long. I might have to go visit Mirror Beam many times in order to get the rest of those shadow Pokemon. I don't know yet.